Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I'm Butch Theory, and I am joined today with my trusty co-host, Captain Richard Rutland. How we doing today, buddy?
Man, Butch, I cannot complain, sir.
How are things in the cold-blooded fishing world?
Man, everything's going good. I've had about 2 days off this week. Luckily, I fished on Monday, and then I was off Tuesday and Wednesday. And, man, it was much needed. I tell you what, you don't realize how hot it is right now, man. That sun just sucks it out of you. Golly, there's nothing you can do. You can't drink enough water. It's kind of thinking about it. It's like the first time I've had, like, aside from rodeo, that I've had, like, a consecutive days off where it's like, man, you kind of get a chance to catch your breath, sleep in a little bit, eat good all day.
Well, and just stuff just piles up. I was talking to my brother this morning, and he's like, I have a to-do list the size of a giant yellow legal pad around my house and my boat because they've been rolling every day, and it just piles up. So I'm sure you can relate to that as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've got to do an oil change right now. I've got a couple of little things I got to tinker with. Like I got a cleat on the boat that won't –
always something.
Pop-up cleats I've got to tinker with. Not to mention, I just got a whole bunch of tackle in, so I've got to put some new line on a couple of reels, and
that's fun. That's fun stuff.
Oh yeah, but it's
always something. It
piles up. You know, when you're in the sun all day long, and then you get done fishing and get done washing the boat, last thing you want to do is like,
yeah, you ain't doing nothing.
Re-spool reels or something. I'm trying to look for a shady spot in a couch.
Lucky to fall on a cold bed, ain't you?
That's right.
How's the fishing been, man?
Fishing has been on fire for me.
It sounds like that's what I've seen too.
And it's really, really good to see because last year at this time when it was hot like this, kind of getting into the dog days of summer, man, it really, really got challenging to catch speckled trout. And I was having to resort to other species to kind of get it done. And speckled trout bite has been insane. And it's been really good in shallow water, which is crazy because we're seeing water temp anywhere from 85 degrees all the way up to 93, almost 94 the other day. I saw 93.5 degrees.
That's
so the water temperature is almost as hot as the air temperature. That's on the surface, of course.
Right.
But
still dang hot.
It's been really good, the fishing has, and it's across a broad area too. So
good.
Lots of opportunity out there on doing well.
Good,
got on like a red hot topwater bite the other day with one of my first customers, this guy Brian Miller, who's from Arkansas. I took him and his daughter and her boyfriend fishing the other day, Blair, and we were on a topwater bite. Probably caught up. We had like a blow up every cast on topwater for like 2 hours. It was fun. Probably one of the best topwater bites I've been on this year. Yeah, and Brian, he's been going with me since I started, so for 10 years. It's kind of funny how you get to know your customers over a long span like that. But
oh man, I can't tell you how many people from Kentucky, Illinois, Arkansas that I still talk to weekly that I grew up, coming to fish with Dad, on the Lady Ann that I was deckhanding when I still talk to some guys that started fishing with us when I was 10 years old. It's crazy.
Man, that's neat. It's
cool.
Fun how you get to develop relationships like that. And
fishing community is just cool, man. For the vast majority, we got some good people around here.
Yeah, Brian was making fun of me because he started listening to the podcast, and we were talking about the flounder, and I was talking about the live well, and I said something about my beautiful bubbles in the live well, and he said he turned it on and heard me saying that and started cackling. He said, "Yeah, that's exactly like something Richard would say. My beautiful bubbles in the live well." That's
right. Oh, that's awesome, man. We have some good reports today. We are hearing from a new contributor, Shane Toole. He runs the Necessity out of Orange Beach. I think it's a big old Freeman. I can't wait to hear about that thing. And we'll talk to Patrick, and then we got the Bama Beach Bum to finish it off. Last but not least, of course. You ready to get into this thing?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Let's head down and talk to Blakely Ellis, the CCA Alabama. Back to the show. How we doing today, Blakely?
I'm doing good, guys. How are y'all?
I'm not quite as good as Richard Rutland fishing for a living, but I try. I get by.
We all got to have our heroes, right?
That's right. Well, tell us about what's going on with you guys, man. I know you guys have some exciting things coming up, and you've been doing some exciting things. So just kind of give us a rundown.
Yeah. So some of the stuff we've done this summer, a lot of it's involved tagging. We sponsored the Deep Sea Fishing Radio's live live weigh-in category for the speckled trout and redfish, and that was really fun to be a part of, and to see them have such a successful event, see them have so many live fish brought in and tagged and released, and so that was really neat.
Like, I want to make a note on that. I really, really, really was tickled to death to see how we changed the format of it just being the largest live to making it the greatest number of fish for the winner there. And it was wild how many more speckled trout we got to come in. We had more fish alive in the first day than we did the entire rodeo of the previous year. So
wow, that's awesome, man. That's got to help conservation so much.
Big deal. Yeah, it does.
A lot of fish.
And hopefully we can kind of some of the guys that I saw come in that were weighing live fish already are tagging some fish, but we need to convert some of those guys to become taggers as well to kind of get that cranked up a little bit. So that was really cool, man. And I really, everybody knows I'm past president of the rodeo and still on the board of directors. And man, we just really want to thank the CCA and thank you for your support with that, because I think it really goes a long way with the fishery. And I think we're starting to see some success from the limit changes and just putting awareness out there, man. We're just, like I said, was saying right before you came on, the fishing's off the charts for speckled trout right now. And I think it's due to the number that we have a greater number of fish, better year class of fish coming around, and
new regs.
Hopefully that'll continue going. But anyway, keep going on with, I think you're going to tell us maybe about tarpon next. Is that right?
Yeah. We actually, one of y'all's regulars, Chris Vesey, reached out to me because he wanted to tag some juvenile. He asked me about tagging some juvenile tarpon. And so that started a discussion between us and South about what type of tags we should order. And they showed us these certain tags, and we were like, well, those are probably too big for juvenile tarpon, but what if we ended up getting some of those for some big fish? And these aren't satellite tags. These are, just basic spaghetti tags. And so we actually ended up doing both. We ordered some juvenile tags to get out, and so some folks can tag some of the juvenile tarpon that we have in Alabama. And then we received the tags like July. It was the Monday after the 4th of July. And we ordered, I think we had 100 of them. And that next day, I already had the addresses and shipped the stuff out. And then on Thursday of that week, we had a Zoom conference call with the 8 or 9 of the different tarpon guys that had the tags. And then come the very next morning, Friday morning, Captain Troy Price sent a group text out that he'd popped the tag in the first fish. That was pretty neat to see it all come together really quickly, because obviously, there's a certain amount of time that the tarpon are in here pretty thick. And so it was really cool to see it all come together. Troy ended up tagging 6 of them for us this summer. And then you had Hayden Olds. He tagged 3 of them, and actually 2 of those were during the rodeo, and he won the tarpon category in the rodeo, and both the fish were tagged. And then Justin Jennings tagged a couple of fish for us. And so it was a really good start. So we're going to more than likely have that around for next year. And because it's, it's not a huge investment. So it's nice to get some more data on some of these fish without having to kick out, at the low end, $1,000 for a satellite tag. And so we hope to learn some more about some of these fish that are cruising around here.
That's really cool. I'm always curious about the tarpon to see where they go. I really followed them close. I guess that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
They did a bunch of those satellite tags, and at the rodeo, and we saw where, a bunch of them went way offshore, and then some went up way over to the boot of Louisiana and all that stuff. That was really cool.
That is neat. Yep. It's cool stuff to see.
So tell us a little bit about flounder. What's next?
I don't think I've been on y'all's podcast without mentioning the flounder hatchery of Gulf Shores, and the amount of investments that we've made over the last 2 or 3 years. I'm going to keep talking about it because it's such a big deal, and we're going to keep supporting it. But so we have, all the equipment's in place. They had the first successful spawn of the southern flounder this year, but there's an ongoing need for more broodstock fish, and the hardest ones to capture are the male flounder, which generally are going to be 13 inches or smaller. And so for the last couple of years over at the Saltwater Fanatics tournament, we've sponsored and supported and encouraged live weigh-ins, and the state's been there to collect flounder. This year, the state's just going to be collecting flounder, but I reached out to some of our contacts and got in touch with the company called Toadfish. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with them or not, but they're based out of South Carolina, and they invent a lot of kind of really neat products for fishing and just like the boating lifestyle. And one of them, it's called the non-tipping can koozie. I don't know if y'all have seen those or not.
I've definitely seen it for sure.
I've actually got a video I can send y'all from running across Mobile Bay. I think Richard's contender of it sitting on the dashboard, sticking straight up. But anyway, they've stepped up to the plate, and they've donated some of these can coolers, the non-tipping can coolers, and so we're going to give away one of those for each live flounder that's brought in that's 13 inches or less. So bring one in, and we give you a can cooler. You can choose white or green, but it's about $25 investment by them. So we're really excited about that. And then we'll still have the other portions like we've done in the past with the most live flounder brought in drawing, and then you get a raffle ticket for each live flounder that you bring in, and then speckled trout as well. But this is just kind of something extra to sweeten the pot to hopefully allow us to get more of these really small fish, because those are the ones that are likely going to be male, and that's the ones we're really going to need in order to continue to grow that specific species at the hatchery.
Sure. That makes sense, man. That's awesome that you guys are doing that, and that Toadfish stepped up too. So when is that tournament? That's the Saltwater Fanatics tournament. That's not this weekend, but next.
That's correct. Yeah, it's next weekend, weekend before Labor Day. So what is that? Sorry, I don't have my calendar.
Saturday is the 29th.
It is. Yeah. Yep. Saturday the 29th and Sunday the 30th.
Okay. All right, great.
Hey, Blakely, let me back you up just a second on the flounder. You said you were looking for the smaller fish. Are anglers going to be allowed to bring in undersized fish in this tournament, or they still have to reach the state minimum?
No, yeah. So for this tournament, the state issues a permit, and this one, I believe Justin has it posted on their Facebook page. But if you've got questions about it, we can get you a copy of that letter, and it basically outlines the rules that you have to follow if you do want to hold a smaller than state allowed size and or a larger bag for the purposes of bringing in these live fish for this tournament. So they essentially put together this letter that outlines all that, all those details.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure just to be clear for our listeners, don't.
Certainly.
Yeah, that's good.
Be keeping small fish all willy-nilly.
Oh yeah. Well, people will sometimes take that and run with it,
Oh yeah. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
It sounds like you got some experience running tournaments or something there, Richard.
No, not at all, man.
Well, okay. So awesome. Saltwater Fanatics tournament's going to be Saturday the 29th, August 29th and August 30th. You guys head over to Saltwater Fanatics, their Facebook page, for more information.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Anything else?
We're going to be doing another online fundraiser probably next month, probably in September, and it's going to be probably 3 times the size of the one we did in June. That I had so many of the supporters of the podcast participate, bid, and win on items. So we'll keep you posted on that when I get that firmed up. But
yes, please do. I had that day, the next day, I think it was going live the next day after we aired or something. I had people texting me the next morning, have you seen all the stuff that's on the website for Offshore? Yes, I have. I know. I told you to look at it. I had people texting me that whole next day. That's a true story.
Yeah. It's essentially going to be taking the place. We're pulling the plug on any attempts at putting together an in-person event this year, and we're going to roll all of our resources into one big statewide silent auction. So
awesome.
We'll have lots of good stuff.
Yep, definitely keep us posted on that, and we'll have you back on to give us the rundown on that before that runs.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate it, and everybody, don't forget to buy your CCA, your saltwater fishing license plate, and help us keep doing all this good stuff.
That's right. We will. We push that every week, man. We appreciate you guys, Blakely.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Richard, I'm super excited about our next guest. Me and Shane have been talking for about a month. I've been trying to get him on, but he fishes too dang much. I can't ever get him on the phone. How are we doing today, Captain Shane?
Oh, awesome. Appreciate the opportunity to finally get on here.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. So we are talking to Captain Shane Toole of Necessity Sport Fishing out of Orange Beach, Alabama, man. So just kind of give us a little background about how you got to where you are and a little bit about your boat. And I'll just ask questions as I see fit, if that's all right.
I think it's my 15th year fishing professionally or getting paid to go fishing. I mean, I've done it all. I started out charter fishing out of Zeke's on snapper boats and jumped on some private boats. And then I went back to charter fishing for Ben Ferry on the Necessity Resmondo. I learned a lot from that man. And I got back into the sport fishing game, did the tournament circuit, fished on the Breathe Easy, Real Addiction. We won the Triple Crown on the Breathe Easy that year. I was on there with Nick Knopfheim. And Dr. Barnes hit me back up, the owner of the Freeman over here, the Necessity, and gave me this opportunity, and I've been very thankful for it.
Awesome, man. Tell us a little bit about the Necessity. How big is that Freeman, and how many horses has she got, et cetera?
Yeah, we're a 42 Freeman long range. It's got quad 350 horsepower Mercury Verados.
I can't even imagine that, dude. I grew up on slow big nasties, like I told you. I can't imagine that. I'm excited to ride on a Freeman tomorrow.
Oh, it's a game changer. It's awesome. I mean, I went from cruising at 10, 12 knots on a good day to, our minimum cruise is 35. If it's really calm, we can do a 45 to a 48 knot cruise.
God, you can cover some ground that way, man.
As I say, it's really interesting how the offshore center console has absolutely changed.
Oh, it's taken over.
Because you think about Butch, like when you were talking about earlier, when you were 10 or 12 years old growing up on your dad's boat, you guys were fishing like the last frontier way out there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. We were going out. That's nothing now.
But it would take you, all of 12, 18 hours to get that far out.
For sure.
And now these guys, now you can get out there to the same water in like, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hour run, you know what I mean? And even when it's choppy, you can do that. And it's just unreal. Yeah. And the efficiency of these big things too, you know what I mean? Like, what's your efficiency on that Freeman, Shane?
Mine's not as good as some of the smaller boats, but I'm at 50 gallons an hour at a, 40, close to a 40 knot cruise.
That's crazy, man. So actually, since you've been around the block and you've been on big slower boats with the comforts, why is it such a game changer other than the speed? There's got to be other reasons, right?
For me, the biggest game changer is the speed. Like the stuff I used to fish way down in the Southwest on deep drop trips, it'd be a 2 or 3 day trip to go fish that. Now I'm fishing it on 10 hours and 12-hour trips.
Dude, that's nuts.
It's really
so much access to the fisheries.
That's really cool. And then, like I said, just the efficiency that you can do it in, you know what I mean? You can burn probably a quarter of the amount of fuel that you used to, and get there in half the time and do it in one day,
That's crazy. How much fuel does that thing hold, Shane?
We hold 800 gallons.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
That's plenty. When people ask me, where do you sleep on that thing? I go, I sleep in my own bed when I get home because I don't have to stay out overnight.
I don't have to stay out overnight. That thing's got a tower, doesn't it?
Yeah, we got a tower. We use it for during cobia season. If we're doing some tuna fishing or marlin fishing, I'll get up there, but mainly for cobia fishing.
Yeah, man, that thing's awesome. All right. Well, I know you do a lot of fishing in general. I know you do a lot of daytime sword fishing and stuff like that. I saw where you went 6 for 6 on swordfish the other day. So I would love to get a swordfish / offshore report from you. Just kind of walk me through what you've been doing, man.
The swordfish bite has been incredible this year. Like I said, we went 6 for 6 that day. I think my last 4 trips, 1 for 3, 1 for 3, and 3 for 4 in my most recent trip. If anyone's interested in going swordfishing or it's a bucket list trip, right now is the time to go. I'm never going to guarantee a swordfish, but the odds are high on being able to catch one right now.
Awesome. So you guys do all daytime. I guess you're going. Do you have a target depth that the fish are there, or a target bait? Just kind of walk us through what it looks like for you whenever you're going on a day to day.
It just depends. If I'm fishing down in the southeast, the normal depths anywhere from 12 to 1,400. We try to fish structure. We don't fish open water. We fish some kind of rock or salt dome or ledge. Now to the west where we've been fishing, there's like a ditch there by the Petronas. One of my pro tips, we talked about that, would be fishing the bait. If you're not marking bait, you might catch a swordfish, but it's just like fishing for blue marlins or tunas. Even though the bait's in 1,500 feet of water, you still got to keep your boat on top of that bait or you're going to have a bad trip.
Okay.
It's just kind of like fishing in general, whether you're inshore or offshore, right. Find the feed, find the fish.
Find life.
I mean? I know speckled trout fishing for a living, man. And when I get to an area, man, if I'm not seeing mullet or some pogies jumping around or some flipping around or a few shrimp scattered here or there, man, I pick up and I move. You know what I mean? I was like, I can get to an area and either be using my electronics, whether I'm in deeper water or just, reading the water on the surface. If I'm not seeing something, I pick up and move. And that could be a place I fished yesterday and whacked them, and I'd show up there the next day, and I don't see the right sign. I'm gone. You know what I mean? Let's get out of here.
Yeah. So, every day I go back to the ditch, the bait is in a different spot. Like today I was 6 for 6. I think there was 10 or 11 other boats there, and they're all south of me. One or two were north of me. I think only 2 or 3 other fish were caught, but I was literally driving around waiting until I marked bait. I was even marking swordfish and dropping to them. I have a really good transducer, which makes a big difference. But I wouldn't even waste my time making a drift unless I was marking a bait or marking a fish and, making every drift worth it.
Let's talk about your electronics a little bit. What kind of transducer are you running? And then what brand of electronics are you using? I'm
running my Garmin's. I got 24-inch Garmin's, which are huge. It makes it really nice to see the screen. I mean, the big transducer is an Airmar R599, 3 kilowatt, 3,000 kW.
It's a good one. You're reaching out and touching it for sure.
Oh yeah, it's very powerful.
So you can see like fish farts and stuff down there, right?
Magical bubbles.
Oh yeah, nothing gets by me on that screen.
That's pretty neat. Do you have to zoom in on that bottom to see all that kind of stuff, or is it just mark up pretty good while you're looking at your screen?
I mean, I like to run a split screen with a split zoom. I mean, I got one side zoomed all the way out, one side zoomed in within 500 feet of the bottom.
Nice.
It helps out just a little bit. Sometimes the bait's, not a big show, but like my last trip, I was 3 for 4. It was like 100-foot, wall of bait for about 500 yards.
You think that's the thermocline? I think that's where those bait are hanging out?
We call that a DSL, a deep water scatter layer, where you mark your squids and your eels and your bait. You'll see that down there, but this was literally a giant wad of bait or something holding tight to the bottom. And every time you drift through it, you get bit instantly.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, let's talk bait a little bit. What's your favorite bait for daytiming? Or do you have some secret stuff that you can't tell us?
No, there's no secrets. I'm a big squid guy. I like squids.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, everything elite squids. It takes a little longer to rig them, but if you get a bite on it, they're normally going to hook it.
Awesome. All right, man. We got to get that offshore tip from you. Another one, since you already gave us one. This week's offshore tip is brought to us by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for fishing areas are pretty much over with. Don't waste your time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but also where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. What you think for a pro tip this week, Captain Shane?
The most general pro tip I can give, which is really important, I think, on any boat, is PMA, positive mental attitude. I mean, I can't stress it anymore. If we don't have a positive attitude and everyone's in a good mood, a happy boat catches fish.
Absolutely. Confidence. Richard and I talk about that all the time, man. I think that kind of ties in with that. If you're not confident where you're fishing, if you're not happy and you don't think it's going to happen, it's probably not going to happen.
No, exactly. If you got some negativity on the boat or someone's in a bad mood, I mean, it rubs off on everybody, and you might not fish as hard as you want. You might shorten your drift or somewhere you don't want to go. So it definitely makes a difference, and we stress that a lot on our boat.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That's neat. I've never even thought about I thoroughly understand this subject. You know what I mean? But I've never even thought to bring it up on the boat before. You know what I mean? Because there are times when everybody gets a little quiet on the boat, and you as the captain feel like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders trying to make something happen. And you can tell people's attitudes get a little poor, and it gets tough, man. But I always say, man, there's always a fish biting somewhere. You just got to keep grinding until you find them. You know what I mean? Right. So, and having a good attitude about it and good work ethic really goes a long, long way.
Goes all the way for sure. I love that tip.
We always say we're one bite away from the best trip of our lives.
That's true. Hey, I like it, man. I like a grounder. I like a hard fisherman. Sniff test.
Yeah.
What you think, Richard?
Oh, yeah. I think he's passing the sniff test.
Think he checks out?
All right, man. We might have him on again.
Might have him back on. All right, Captain Shane. Well, if folks want to book a trip with you, man, let's get down to the nitty gritty. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Man, you can follow us on Facebook, Necessity Sport Fishing or Necessity Deep Sea Offshore Fishing. or you can give us a call at 251-255-7400.
Awesome, buddy. I appreciate the report, and we look forward to the next one. Hope you keep whacking them. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
All right, Butch. That's a pretty good offshore report.
I like him. I think we'll have him back.
Yeah, really getting in depth on the offshore thing. I really like how detailed Shane was about all of his some of his tactics and whatnot. And then, of course, the tip, man, stay positive. You know, what did he call it? What was the acronym he said?
PMA, positive mental attitude.
Heck yeah, PMA. I like it. Well, let's go talk to the ugliest guy I know, Captain Patric Garmeson of Ugly Fishing down there. How you doing, Pat?
Doing good, guys. What's up, man?
What you been up to, buddy? What you been killing? What you been chasing?
I've been chasing more redfish than anything, but we've had some pretty good trout mornings over the last probably 4 or 5 trips.
Nice.
And in the redfish thing, I'm starting to mix in some sight casting.
Saw you went to my pumpkin patch. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Getting into the pumpkin patch a little bit. The numbers,
some beautiful fish.
Yeah, yep. Starting to see some nice golden, copper, orange. You know, just all those bright colors, and the white belly is almost completely disappearing on these fish. You know, when that fish looks like that, he's chilling on the grass, in the grass all day long.
Yep.
So that's getting exciting. The more and more of those fish we're seeing, the more the pumpkin patch is going to be ripen. Yes,
it is unreal when they get around that grass how they brighten up like that.
Looks like a totally different fish, man. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and then you go like to the opposite end of the spectrum, and you go like when we're catching them like in the springtime out on the beach, and they're like silver. they're almost white. Like silver or white with like just a kiss of pink almost in them. Yep. You know what I mean? It's really neat how they can do that. And I guess it's really like a lot of fish. I've always noticed like speckled trout fishing, you catch them over a sandy bottom. They're real light colored, almost like a light green color. And then you go out like in the bay, like around the rigs, or catch them in deep water. Like the tips of their fins are black, you know, because they've been sitting over a dark bottom out there around the mud and whatnot. So, and flounder are the same way, you know. Flounder, you catch them on the Gulf Beach or something like that. They're almost like a sandy brown color, and then catch them in the rivers and whatnot, and they're black almost, you know, or real dark brown. So all fish really do that, I think. But it's neat how the reds go from one end to the other.
You know why?
Well, it's definitely in the camouflage side of things. You know, I mean, they're trying to adapt to be less seen by their predators and their prey. Yeah. So just blending in, and I was going to say, that's one thing, you know, what Richard's talking about, like how the grass reds will be really orange and the beach reds will be really silver. That's a pretty good tell when your buddy starts posting pictures on Instagram or Facebook, and he won't give you the goods on where about he was.
You know where he was.
Well,
you know.
That redfish has very little color.
Yeah,
I know he's around some sand somewhere, and if that fish lit up, then you know he's around some grass.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, so that's a little bit about what I've been doing. You know, I mean, I've been red fishing along the Causeway. The western shore, the eastern shore, red fishing is starting to finally kind of get, you know, where I'm getting excited about getting back out there and chasing them. You know, the last, I don't know, probably since really May, June, July, red fishing for me wasn't all that great. I mean, even when I went out and specifically tried to put an hour or two or more in on red fishing, I mean, we were kind of doing one fish here, one fish there, sometimes not even getting a bite. So now it's getting more consistent where I feel confident in saying, you know what, let's if we leave the dock and you want to catch redfish, we're going to catch some redfish today. And then on the eastern shore, man, from Weeks Bay to I-10, almost the entire length of the eastern shore is covered up with shrimp. You're seeing groups of birds diving early in the morning from Weeks Bay to Daphne the whole way.
Dang.
I mean, at one point on Monday, there was a flock of birds literally continuously from about Zundels all the way to Lake Forest. Like there was not even hardly a single break in the birds, and you just ride along. There's just a lot of ladyfish and catfish and stuff pushing the shrimp, but I mean, shrimp everywhere. And so it does make it a little bit, it is almost, I'm almost kind of driving a boat like a little bit ADD, like, oh my God, look, that one down the water. Oh, that one down the water. Yeah. Do we stop here? Do we stop there? And
there's fish everywhere. What do we do?
It's, there's sometimes when you look at the bay and you're like, oh my God, there's so much water. Where do we go?
Fish? Yeah.
Yeah. And now you look and you see fish blowing up and all kind of life everywhere. And what I noticed and what I figured out as far as it worked for us was picking those schools that were really, really close to the piers. So where there was a flock of birds that would go down and kind of hover on the surface really close to the piers, really close to the structure, those had more specks in them and maybe even some redfish, whereas the ones that were further out, further offshore, seemed to be a lot more ladyfish and catfish. And now I'm not saying we're not going to catch ladyfish and catfish in close, but that did kind of help break it up and get us a little more concentrated. And the last couple of days, the birds definitely helped us find some fish. And I mean, the shrimp that are out there, I mean, they're big, nice shrimp. Just throw the cast net a couple of times. You can
get dinner at least, right?
Yeah. Me and Coop went through the net the other day, and we had shrimp tacos for dinner. So
that sounds good.
Yeah, that's neat. That was going to be one of my first questions on the bird schools was where you getting gaff topped or ladyfish real bad on some of that, because I've been seeing some of those bird schools over on my side. I say my side, over in Mississippi Sound area.
Side, he said. Yeah. Listen to this guy.
I'll try to avoid your side.
Right. Sound like you might get shot at.
But anyway, I've been noticing some of that, and I've stopped in on a few of them. And just like I've kind of noticed the same thing you said. If you find them kind of out in the middle of some of these bigger bays, like in the middle of the Mississippi Sound or like the middle of Portersville Bay or something like that, it tends to be a little bit more trashy. And then but the schools that you are seeing up close to some of these points and islands and stuff like that are holding some fish. It's usually plenty of action. One little thing I've noticed is you get out there, and of course, when I get around a bird school, I don't really like throwing popping cork with a shrimp in on it. I like switching over to a voodoo or a little slick, something of that nature, because you're going to get bit just immediately as fast as you are. And so baiting your hook every time kind of slows the process down. But I've been starting to throw a grub in there, and it seems like those better fish are down underneath all that main activity up there. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, Patrick, but that's been producing for us.
That I would say that's something that I would typically do. Unfortunately, these fish, I guess, they're so dialed in on what a real shrimp looks like right now that while the guys were throwing live shrimp and catching fish, they were at one point they were catching smaller fish like 12, 13, 14-inch trout. So I just grabbed a big slick, and I said, well, maybe I can figure out if a bigger one will bite. Didn't get a bite. Threw a little slick, didn't get a bite. Threw an artificial shrimp, didn't get a single bite, and the guys were still catching fish. So unfortunately, I didn't find the results the same. But I would agree that you were correct. A lot of times when I'm in Mississippi Sound, I don't even throw a live shrimp. Like when I pull up to a school, I'll hand a guy like a paddle tail grub or a little slick and be like, I want you to throw out there, see what you catch. If it's catfish, we'll just keep moving. But if it's a trout, then we'll stop and fish it. And that's been an easier way to kind of sort through those schools a lot faster for me. But anyway, on the Eastern Shore, man, we couldn't figure out anything to get them on artificial bait.
I think it was 2 weeks ago I had you on, Patrick, and you and I were talking about, or you were talking about the little slick under the popping cork. You still having good luck with that?
Yeah, I mean, I was, but I'm telling you, this week these
shut
fish,
it down.
Yeah, these fish were. I mean, I guess there's just so many. There's so many shrimp out there right now that it's.
Why eat possum whenever you can have ribeye, right?
I guess that's the attitude. But I tell you what, man, we're catching like 13-inch trout that are trying to weigh about 2 pounds right now. I mean, they're as big around as they are long. So I mean, these things are eating real good right now. So they have identified what is real and what is not. So
that's funny.
Man, I tell you, it just tickles me to death to hear you talk about how many, how much bait, how much life there is over on that side. And I'm seeing the same thing over in Mississippi Sound and around Mobile Bay, just like how many fish there are around right now, and especially the time of year it is. I don't know if you remember last year in August and September, man, but like trout fishing was like non-existent almost. It was
scraping by.
Really hard to get by, and this year it's been completely different. And I think there's a whole new stock of fish, year class of fish that have moved in, and it's crazy. It's like it feels like there's 10 times the number of fish around this year as there was last. You feel that way too?
I feel that way. As far as the trout are concerned, it seems like anytime I just say that I'm going to go trout fishing, we're going to catch some. I mean, we may go and catch 40 of them that aren't even keepers, but I would agree with you. Like last year, it would seem like if you caught 5 undersized trout, you were like, wow, we're on a really good pattern here. So, yeah.
That's a good thing, man. That's good to hear.
I really got tired of even attempting to catch trout last August. I mean, I went exclusively red fishing, and and if somebody wanted to go out in the Gulf and chase kings or Spanish or something else, I was like all game for that. But the guy that said, man, I'd like to catch some trout, I'm like, yeah, wouldn't we all,
Yeah, I would too.
You got any tips on where we can go do that before?
Right. Got any insider info?
The cool thing about it though is like these days, like if you go out and catch 40 undersized trout right now, like most likely by like the time November or December rolls around, those are all going to be keeper size fish by then, because most speckled trout, they get to about 12 inches in 1 year and start spawning then, and then get to, I guess, about 20 inches by the time they're about like 2.5 to 3 years old. So, I mean, they grow really fast. So it's
good. Maybe
really
we're seeing a bumper crop here.
Man, I just love seeing all the numbers of little fish, to be honest with you.
For sure.
I know it sounds funny, and it kind of can get frustrating on charter sometimes when, everywhere you go, man, you're catching them as every cast, but you're not putting a lot in the box. But I'm just tickled to death because I know that 3-4 months, those fish are going to be like keeper size fish, and there's zillions of them out there. So
that's good.
That means
it's got to be good.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun this fall.
Hope so. Hopefully those numbers keep increasing. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of signs pointing towards a good fall. We've got good water quality. I'm hearing reports of shrimp all the way up to I-65. The guys that are bass fishing up there, they're saying there's shrimp all in the grass up there. So to think about having white shrimp from Fort Morgan, Weeks Bay area all the way up the entire eastern shore,
it's a lot of bait.
The freaking I-65. I mean, that's a lot of shrimp, and there's a lot of life that's moving with it. And not only the shrimp, but the mullet population I'm seeing in areas is just unbelievable. I mean, I was like around Daphne and around Appalachia and several other areas. Heck, all along the eastern shore, there's just mullet just stacked one right on top of another. And so it's really encouraging. Now, the one thing I will say, the pogie population seems to be a little bit off over the majority of Mobile Bay. I know the sound has been just chock full of them, but like there's a good many pogies around Weeks Bay. There's been pogies down around Fort Morgan almost all year, but usually there's pogies all up and down the eastern shore, and I'm not seeing that right now. So I think if you throw some pogies in the mix here pretty soon, I mean, that place is just going to be bananas for the early part of the fall.
Man, don't come on the fishing podcast and say the B word, man. Oh, my good.
Oh, my. You bring some bananas the other day, and we still caught fish.
Oh, man.
I ain't scared of no banana.
Oh, golly.
Good potassium. Good for cramps.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you on the I have to agree with you 100% on the pogie population.
Wonder what's up with that.
I don't know. It really took a long time.
They're either like 2 inches long or they're
magnums,
they're like 8 inches long. There's not a lot of in between sizes right now.
I had a trip a couple weeks ago, and I went to go catch some live pogies and from a live well. And, man, it took me about an hour and a half to locate them. I went and looked behind Fort Morgan, went and looked behind the fort at Dolphin Island, went into Little Dolphin Bay and looked there in Alabama Bay, and then finally ran over to Heron Bay and caught them in Heron Bay cutoff. So, I mean, it took me for a long time to locate them, which usually this time of year, it's usually fairly easy to locate them in some of those areas. So
it's interesting. I wonder why.
I don't either. I hope kind of been thinking a little bit something might be up with them, but I hope not.
I don't know. I think as much flood water as we had in the winter, I think it can wash out a lot of those smaller ones, and that may be why the Sound ended up having a lot of pogies this summer. I don't know.
That would make sense.
Just
different
hypothesizing on that, but that's really the only thing that I'm not seeing that I'm super excited about is that there's just not as many pogies in areas that I would historically see them. But I will say this, I mentioned the red fishing and stuff. If you are going red fishing, the one thing that has been really consistent for me in the last couple of trips is if you're going live baiting, man, every type of bait fish and every type of bait fish you can get your hands on, a redfish will eat right now. But it may be like you may have mullet, bull minnows, even small pinfish or croakers, or if you get your hands on some smaller pogies, you may go out and catch 6 redfish and never catch 2 on the same bait. So if you are going to go out and live bait for some redfish, having as many different finfish options and some shrimp is going to help you put a couple more fish in the boat, because I mean, we'd have a guy throw a live shrimp, catch one, bring it in, put another live shrimp on, throw it out there, catch a catfish. The other guy throws a mullet in there and catches a redfish right in the exact same spot that the other guy just threw a shrimp in there and caught a catfish.
Seem to be like some diva fish. They want a buffet. That seems unfair.
It does seem unfair, but if you got a cast net, this is the time to use it for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing, Richard and I do a lot of fish tagging. We tagged a 27.5-inch redfish on Friday. Went back to the same general area today to try to finish my trip out. Caught the fish again.
Oh man, that's cool.
Stuck
awesome.
Another tag in him, so he has like dual antennas on his
whipping in the wind. I like it. Yeah. That's awesome.
Hey, Patrick, I want to back you up a little bit. I do a lot of fish tagging. You do some fish tagging. Just always remember that, okay? Yeah. You talking to the champ, boss.
Dang, he went there.
Yeah.
I have to, man. I got to pick on my buddies, man. I don't mess with you if I don't like you. All right?
We were just talking to. We were talking to Blakely off air a minute ago, and Richard was giving Blakely heck about not giving him his most tagged in the year award, I guess.
Top tagger of the year.
Me and Blakely have decided we're going to get Richard a Flava Flav clock around his neck that just says Tagger of the Year.
Yeah.
That way he can wear it in all his fish pictures. He can bring it on his boat, and he can hang it on the motor or whatever he wants to do. The way he's got it up with him all the time.
Well, knowing Richard though, the award cannot be large enough. Like
That's right.
if he has a hand cart where he's got to tote it around, would probably be about that's when you're getting close enough to where.
Well,
that's as big as he needs.
Well, Blakely and I decided that the necklace had to be super big to get it over his head.
Yeah. Oh man, it just keeps going, huh? I like it. I like it. I pour it on Patrick a little bit, and y'all dump truck it on me, huh? I love it.
All right, man. Let's do the Hey Cap question. What y'all say?
Let's do it.
All right, man. This week's Hey Cap was brought to us by Foster Contracting as the Hey Cap question. Often when a business is small, you miss the professionalism that you get with larger companies. That's not the case with Fortified Roofing Pros. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible, and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. All right. This week's Hey Cap question comes from Matthew Reams. He says, "Hey Cap, we thought this was applicable with Labor Day coming up and really just the traffic being up in general on the water. There's been so many more people fishing and boating this year. I think this question will be good to ask for both of you guys." I mean, he says, "Hey Cap, how do you deal with the crowd on a holiday? Do you just stick it out or do you find some quiet, less crowded water?" Like both of you guys have had a vast experience in this realm. So what you think, Patrick?
Summertime, springtime, any type of my warmer months when the vast majority of the fish are going to be out in open water, out in the bay, out around, the reefs, the rigs, the wrecks, all that stuff. If my customer is flexible to kind of whatever I want to do, I may go throw a Hail Mary and go hit some areas that are way less traveled, way less targeted that time of the year. So where everybody may be fishing the south end of the bay during that holiday weekend, I may go try my hand at specifically targeting redfish up on the causeway or something like that, where the people that are on the causeway, they may be crabbing or boating or just sandbarring it or whatever. But now, like in the cooler months when a lot of our fish are going to, say like Thanksgiving holiday, for instance, I can remember years where the fishing was really, really good in the Delta Thanksgiving weekend, and there's a giant school of fish in Tensall and Raft or Mobile or wherever the school of fish was that 800 other people knew about. Sometimes it's doable, and you can get in there and everybody kind of drifts and catches some fish and stuff. The main thing there is really you're going to have to be disciplined enough to get up earlier and be at the ramp earlier, just to where you can get a parking spot, and B, kind of get up the river into a zone where you feel most comfortable and trying to start catching some fish. So that's kind of my thought on it.
So you don't stick it out. You find quiet, less crowded water is what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes.
Most of the time.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is in the winter months or in the cooler months when you have some holidays, it can be doable to interact with the big crowd and still catch fish. But the main thing would be to get there early and be on the water to where you can start making your moves early on. Before you have a huge migration of people in there. Say, the guys that are launching it from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and they're going to start trickling in and starting to crowd the waters out. I mean, that's my thought. And then you could also pick smaller rivers or something like that. But I'm not going to run from a crowd in the cooler months. I don't mind kind of getting in there and figuring it out.
That's a very good take on that, Patrick. What I usually do is, like we say, warmer months, talking about like we have a big holiday coming up with Labor Day just 2 weeks away.
Yep.
I'm usually going to pick a different boat ramp to go out of in general. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my bait the night before or the afternoon before and make sure you got a good means to keep.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's smart.
So you don't
Instead
have
of waiting in line at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. for an hour. That's smart.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, like I'll just tell you right now, when Labor Day weekend comes around, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if you're not the first person in line at the bait shop in the morning when they open up, you're probably not going to get bait. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna chase it down the night before, the afternoon before, when they've reloaded, after the crowd's thinned out. And then I really am liking these little twice the ice machines where you can just stop and grab your ice on the way to the boat ramp. I do a lot of fishing, pretty much run 99% of my trips out of Dolphin Island right now. So I'll use a different ramp, like either going to Bayou La Battery ramp or going to the Westphal River ramp, something like that. And I'll go out of one of those places. And then like Patrick was saying, I'm not going to fish any of usually some of the bigger, well-known reefs, like some of the West End reefs or the Shrimp Boat Reef or around the gas platforms in the bottom of the bay, which I don't do a lot of that anyway. But I'm going to try to stay off the beaten path.
Sure.
Go down to like
Get
Grand Bay.
somewhere.
Go down to Grand Bay or fish some of the smaller stuff in around Portersville Bay, something like that for this time of the year. And then kind of getting into like cooler weather, what Patrick was saying, if it's on up in the causeway, everybody knows it's on up in the causeway. I can't stand the crowds, having 100 people freaking fishing around you, and everybody knows who we are. So they're just snugging in closer and closer, it seems like. So sometimes I pick a different system to go to because the fishing's good up there. It's going to be good in other places too, like either going to Dog River or Foul River are good places. Foul River on the weekend can kind of get a little tight because it's not a very big body of water, but Dog River
I think there's still snakes and gators in Foul. I haven't heard the full report on that, but I think there's still a snake and gator outbreak somewhere around there.
Yeah, but Dog River, you can spread out a little better in Dog River. It's a much bigger body of water. So there's still plenty of opportunities everywhere to do that, to kind of get off the beaten path a little bit and avoid the crowds. But
so it sounds like just use your head a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what Richard was saying about grabbing your bait the night before and just getting your whole preparation done the night before.
I didn't even think about that. Man, that's a great point.
That is extremely important because you can
just go fishing.
So we're sitting here talking about go ahead and if you're going to get to the boat ramp, get there earlier. Well, if you're the guy that chooses, hey, I'm not going to get my bait, so I'm going to get to the bait shop earlier. All it takes is five or six other people.
Right. Yep.
to decide to go to the bait shop that much earlier. And then, if you're like 5 minutes later than those people, you're actually going to be 12th in line at the bait shop when they open it, and whether they open at 5 or 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever. Next thing you know, you're wetting your first hook at like 800.
You late, Cap. You late.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So at that point, you're like, am I late to the party, or is it
the party over?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, well, that's awesome, man. That's a great question, Matthew. Matthew's going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. Matthew, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com with your address to redeem your Slick Lures. Y'all make sure you go and follow the Best Fishing Report page on Facebook, and make sure you join the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report private group. We always post Hey Cap posts on there, so you guys can submit your Hey Cap posts, and you can also submit them to alabama@bestfishingreport.com. Captain Patrick, I don't know how your book's looking, man, but what's the best way to get in touch with you if folks want to book a trip?
I've got some opportunity next week. This will be the first week that I've had any openings on my schedule since the end of April. So from here going forward, there's definitely some opportunities, whether we want to trout fish, redfish, go down there to the beach and run the beach a little bit. A lot of opportunities over the next probably 5 or 6 weeks to do a bunch of different things. Just give me a shout. You can call me or text me. Texting me is probably the easiest way, 251-747-1554. Getting a lot of people that are messaging me on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you know what date you want to go, you can always go to my website, uglyfishing.com. Click the book now button and you'll see my calendar there live and ready for you to book. So that's probably the best way. If you know what day you can go, get on there and just book it. And then we can have a conversation about what we want to do after the fact.
Sweet, man. I love it. That's a good report and a great Hey Cap question. We as always, we appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all.
Hopefully things keep going this direction. Hopefully.
Yep. And keep being ugly.
That's right. UGLY.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I found the bottom of this beer, so it's time to go.
Time to move on. Roger that, Cap. Yep. Thanks again.
See you guys.
Man, that was a good time cutting up with old Captain Ugly there, man. I love that guy. He and I go way back. We both got our captain's licenses like the same year. I've been knowing each other for a long time.
Yep. Good dude for sure. Enjoyed fishing.
Man, our next contributor catches pompano with his bare hands, has known to catch a permit over 30 pounds, catches ling from the beach in his flip-flops, has over 50,000 YouTube subscribers, 11 million views on YouTube. The ultimate beach bum, Matthew Isbell. What's up, Hoss?
What? I'm so hyped right now, man. Like, I'm ready to just go,
That is a hype introduction. Yeah, that is a hype introduction. I feel like you're running out right now with boxing gloves on.
I know. I feel like it should be high-fiving some people right now running through something. Like, I'm so hyped.
Eye of the tiger should start beating right
That's
now.
right.
Yeah, I can hear music. Like, I'm bouncing up and down. Like, I'm throwing fists. Man, I'm ready
I like
to
it,
go.
man. What's been going on, man? What you been doing down there, buddy? Give us the rundown.
It's a tough time of year for fishing in the summer, but honestly, like, right now is really some of my most fun. Like, when I get to fish for myself, which I've been doing a lot of that lately, trying to make content for the tubes. And, when I can get out there and walk the beach and throw a popper and catch everything from speckled trout, redfish, jack crevalle, blacktip sharks on a dang popper in the surf.
That's fun.
I mean, I'm just in heaven. I love it, man. And we've had a lot of opportunities here lately. Just with the surf being as calm as it is. I haven't had, you're not going to go out there, it's a lot different approach. I mean, you're not going to get out there and like crush the fish and catch like 30, trout or, limited redfish or anything. But the bites that you get doing something like that is just really quality. It's so exciting. I just love it. It's a lot of fun.
So is that what you've been doing on day to day? Walk us through your day. What you been doing this week?
Yeah. On our trips, we don't really do that so much, but if you get a chance to walk the beach and throw some artificials, definitely a fun time of year for that. Set rigs can be tough this time of year, but we are still having some success, because on the trips we'll still target our whiting and our pompano, and we've been picking those up pretty good. The whiting, you may have to move around to kind of find some of those bigger fish. You can catch them pretty consistently throughout the day if you do downsize, which I know Dusty had talked about that last week. And this time of year, with as clear and as calm as the waters are right now, you really got to be keeping your leaders small. And there was one day we were out there, and I was using my typical whiting rig, which is just a pompano dropper rig, single drop, 15-pound mono. We caught like one fish the whole morning on that one rig. And I just kept it out there just to test, just to kind of have a constant. But I did a couple more things. Like I put another single drop rig with 15-pound 10-pound fluorocarbon, and then a Carolina rig with 10-pound fluorocarbon. And the only one that really consistently caught fish all morning, we caught about 20 whiting, but probably 18 of them were on the Carolina rig with the 10-pound fluorocarbon. So they were there and they were eating the same bait, that was on the other rigs that weren't catching fish, but that presentation was the only thing that would pick them up. It was really, really kind of crazy to see. So you really got to downsize your leaders. You can find those whiting. A lot of them can be small in the summertime, but if you move around, you can find those pockets and those bigger schools and more quality fish. You
guys see any pompano this late in the year?
We are, yeah.
Still the same kind of deal, super finicky, super.
They are, yeah, and it's really a lot to do with we've had such clean water on the Gulf. Like you've just got to really think about your leaders and your presentation. If we get a day that has dirty water, which we've only had like one or two of those in the last 2 weeks that I can remember, you don't have to be as conscious of that. But like we've just had so many days of just really clean water. And I've been using 17-pound fluorocarbon with no beads, no floats, no nothing, just a piece of shrimp. That's what I've been getting them on, is just shrimp, just real natural, real fresh. And we're usually good for at least one or two pompano every trip. So I'll put out a couple of set rigs, put them out deep. And just a little tip here, it's been a little easier to pick up those pompano kind of later, early morning, if that makes sense. So not like first thing in the morning and not too late in the morning, but maybe I would say maybe an hour after sun up. Yeah. After that sun's been, sunrise, about an hour or so afterwards. That's really kind of the prime time, mainly because what you're getting into at that point is that everything's kind of dying down, like the ladyfish and the blue runners, that feeding frenzy that you've got early in the morning. And it's real tough to weed through those fish. The pompano are probably there. And, if you're willing to weed through those other fish, absolutely put baits out. But if you don't want to deal with that, it may be best just to wait until that dies down. And then you can start picking up those pompano. And then once the sun gets a little bit higher, we're talking 9:30, 10 o'clock, once it starts getting warm, that sun's up, most everything's pretty much shutting off in the mornings. Now, we have had some success in the evenings as well. Afternoon bites have actually been a little bit better, I'd say. That last hour and a half before sundown, I would say that's probably going to be your best shot to have some success. Because a lot of the times, right this time of year, that wind will shift. We get these real calm, clear mornings. That wind, with the wind out of the north, and then the wind will shift to like a south or southeast wind. And that little bit of chop, it just kind of helps get some activity going, and it seems to be a little more productive in the afternoons right there before sundown.
Yeah, that makes sense. And their fish aren't just boiling in the water. Water's temperature is so hot right now.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. But it has something that we have been doing as well, and been having some success if you're into this, is we've had a lot of black-tip sharks. And I do enjoy targeting some black-tip sharks on the beach, and we have been
seeing that.
Catching those on trips. Yeah. So that's always fun. And I just, there's plenty of ladyfish to go around. So all you got to do is take one of those ladyfish that you catch that are bound to catch right now, and cut it up and toss it out there with a shark rig of some sort, some kind of wire leader, something that can handle a shark, and you're bound to hook up.
It's fun, man.
Man, I've seen how big of these blacktip sharks that you're seeing down there. Because man, I'm gonna tell you what, over towards where I've been fishing, right there around Mobile Bay, in the bay, in some shallow water, and man, if you get out like just out of the mouth of the bay, like we're talking about how clean this water is, you get outside around any of these rigs right around the southern end of the bay. I mean, it's like as soon as you show up to one of the rigs or range beacons or anything, man, it's like, woof, there's sharks all over the place. I mean, like you can't count them all. There's just huge wads of them all over the place. But most of the ones I'm seeing are, only about, 3 foot long or something like that. They're not real big, but there's just lots of them. Golly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've caught, the smallest one we've caught was probably about 4 feet. Most of the ones we're catching are in the 5 to 6 range.
Dang, that's a heck of a fight from the beach, man. That's a big fish.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're decent fish. They've got some weight on them. I've never weighed any of these fish. I don't put them on a scale or nothing, but the eyeball test, they're probably somewhere in the 40, 50 pound range. I don't know, maybe a little heavier, but they're heavy fish. They tug a little bit. And they, the cool thing about black tips and spinners, which they're basically the same fish, in my opinion, but they jump and get real acrobatic, and it's a cool fish. It's a cool fish to catch. They definitely put on a show for you.
Man, that's pretty awesome. You can definitely tell the shark population is in good health right now because there's plenty to go around.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of sharks, one thing I've been noticing a couple of weeks ago, I was fishing like north part of Mobile Bay, trying to hide from the west wind, from the kiss, what I call the kiss of death, which is west wind. I was going up north. Yeah, and we were catching some small, what I would call bull sharks that were pups. You know what I mean? They were only, 2.5, 3 foot long, and they were just as thick as they could possibly be, and you could tell they were bulls because they had that big, they look a lot like a black tip. Their tips of their fins are black, but you could tell they got that big bull nose. Yeah.
It's kind of sketchy.
Yeah, and they're like real thick.
Right,
like more football shape than long, like the but man, they're like all the way up to the causeway. You know what I mean? They were kind of all over the place, and I think that's real typical of this time of year for those bull sharks to be there. But anywho, thank goodness we don't see a lot of the big ones.
No doubt.
Yeah, they might be there though. Who knows?
They probably.
I would think they're definitely there. They're definitely there.
Yeah. They're probably there.
All right, Matthew, we got to get that onshore tip from you. This week's onshore tip is brought to us by MDH Foundation Repair. If your home is experiencing foundation problems, MDH Foundation Repair has the best solutions to fix it right and fix it now. The problems you see are only going to get worse. So don't deal with inefficient, unqualified, and pushy salesmen trying to sell you overpriced foundation repair products. The professionals at MDH Foundation will ensure you have a remarkable experience from the first meeting to the finished product. MDH Foundation Repair is redefining the construction industry and protect your most important asset, your home. Check them out at mdhfoundationrepair.com. What you think for an onshore tip this week, Cap?
Couple of parts to this. Number one, got to get out there early or late evening before real low light. Just low light situations. If you want to have some success, water temps are just so high. It's so hot midday. It's a doldrum out there. If you're late morning into early afternoon, it's just so hot and just ineffective fishing. So you want to get out there low light situations. It's definitely going to increase your chances, especially with your artificials. And this time of year is a great time to get out there and work on your artificial game in the surf if you're trying to do something a little different from the set rigs. So definitely focus on that. And also pay attention to the bait. If you're not seeing birds, if you're not seeing bait popping or seeing bait in the water or anything,
this time of year. Other times of the year that's okay. That's not necessarily what you have to catch pompano or whiting, because they're not really chasing bait fish. But because a lot of your opportunities are going to come with these predator fish and different species that are chasing the bait, if you're not seeing a lot of activity bait wise on the beach, you might want to just scope it out real quick. And if it's not there, it'd be worth moving down the road a little bit, a few miles, go find another beach and see if you can find some bait, because if it's not there, you're going to have a tough time. So it can be hard to find fish this time of year. It's just so hot, but they're there. You just got to work a little harder for it, and wake up a little earlier, and maybe just wait a little bit longer before you hit the beach in the afternoons, and you should be able to find a few fish.
Find some life.
Yeah, Butch, I don't know about you, but I'm hearing a trend today.
Me too. Same. Yep, a lot of bait.
Yeah, that's been some not like their tip, but just some other our other contributors in relation to what they're catching. They're saying the exact same thing. Sure. You don't want to focus so much on maybe structure or drop offs or ledges or things like that nature. Find the feed, find the fish right now. So that's pretty spot on with what everybody else is doing. Matthew, you sound like a pro.
You sound like you know what you're doing.
Well, no, don't claim to be that. I just chase fish, man.
Well, with 50,000 YouTube subscribers and 11 million views on YouTube, man, you're obviously doing something right, man. Golly.
Well,
pretty awesome.
I think people watch it more for my wife and kid. I don't really think it has much to do with me, so I can't really take too much credit for it.
Yeah, man. That's it right there, man. I've never seen your wife, but she must be smoking hot like mine.
Absolutely, man. Got to capitalize on that.
That's right.
You must know Hugh. You know Hugh.
You damn right. Hey. Whatever it takes to get them clicks, right?
That's right, man. That's right.
All right, Beach Bum. We appreciate you being on, man. We appreciate the report as always. And if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can check out my website. It's staybummy.com. That's STAYBUMMY.
Check him out on the tubes. Bama Beach Bum. We appreciate the report, man.
Actually, it's soon to be ultimatebeachbum.com.
Change it.
I'm sure
I've
I'm sure it's coming.
I just got to make the change. I got to get my designer to make all the changes for me.
But when are you going to get on board? It's the ultimate beach
Dude,
bum, not just
it.
beach bum. It's the ultimate beach bum, man.
Every time you're not on here, I say that Richard loves the fact that he coined that phrase and he loves it. So I'm all about it.
Well, it's sticking, man. My subs, they use it all the time now. So
that's awesome.
And that's from you. That's your brainchild.
That's
good. I love it, dude. I'm happy for you down there.
Me too, man. Ultimate Beach Bum. Always good to hear from you, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. All right, Captain Richard, man, I've had a good time hosting this show with you. I'm glad that you let me be a part of this today, man. It's enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it's been a great one. I love, and I think our listeners do too. The little bit of cutting up that we get to do on here with each other. Most of us have we've all really gotten to know each other real well over these past couple of years of putting this thing together. And man, I tell you, I thank all of our listeners out there all the time, because man, I get it's someone every other day stops me and says, man, we love the podcast. You guys are great, and it's putting out good info, and everybody generally seems to be happy about it, and just very little negative coming from it, in my opinion. And it's it's great, and I feel just absolutely blessed to be a part of it.
Me too, man. One of the main reasons that we started this thing was whenever I moved to Virginia. I lived in Virginia for a little while for my job, and I moved up there, and I just figured I'd get a boat. I buy a little 21 Mako, and I go catch fish. I mean, what's going to be the difference? I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
Going from fishery to fishery, I was begging for information from anyone, and I finally met the right guy, and ended up putting us on the ling up there. And if I would have had something like this up there with the contributors, with our local guides contributing to something, my life would have been. I probably took 10 years off of my life trying to figure out the fishery up there. So that was one of the reasons why we started this thing. And I agree, man. It's an awesome thing, and we appreciate you guys being a part of it. And we're on episode 128, dude.
Man,
this will be 128.
That's pretty incredible.
It is, man. I love it. All right, man. You know, we got to do What Did You Learn? This week's What Did You Learn is brought to us by KillerDock. Today, I'd love to talk about a common form of dock dysfunction, skinny dock. You've seen my skinny dock, man. It's got a narrow finger pier. It's got a catwalk around my boat slip, actually. You can even put these things on bulkheads. If you've got a skinny dock and you know it, you're not happy about it, but what can you do? Nothing until now. KillerDock fish cleaning stations are offset and can enhance your skinny dock so that you have the fish cleaning station you've always dreamed of. If you're suffering from skinny dock, check out the full line of natural dock enhancing fish cleaning stations at KillerDock.com.
Man, that is pretty incredible, talking about KillerDock, how they have designed that thing to not take up any dock space whatsoever. The whole thing hangs out over the water, angled away from you, so you're not getting wet and getting all that fish all over you when you're spraying it all off and everything.
Yep,
and it's pretty, and most of them are covered. You know, you've got some shade, which is shade is at a premium right now with how hot it is, man. Unbelievable.
And let's be honest, they look incredible.
Oh, they do. They do.
It looks like a spaceship is on your dock.
The design is second to none. Getting on to what we learned, man. I tell you what I learned today.
What's that?
I'm going sword fishing tomorrow.
What? Who are you going with?
Oh, yeah. I'm going with, we're going to go, I think you and I are both riding with Captain Bedgood tomorroor.
I think we are as well.
I'm about to jump out of my pants sitting right
I'm excited.
here.
I'm going to be lucky if I sleep tonight, honestly.
Man.
It'll be my first trip, first time, it'll be my first trip daytime sword fishing ever. It'll be my first trip on a Freeman, and it'll be my first trip on a catamaran. So I'm excited as well.
Yep, I'm both of those too, and this is the biggest bucket list fish I've ever had in my life. I don't expect. I'm a guest on the trip, so I don't expect to actually wind one up. But I'm just excited to go see the process, how it happens. I've just heard we've been talking about it till it blew in the face on this podcast about daytime sword fishing. I'm actually going to go get to put my eyeballs on it tomorrow. And I think we're bringing some recording gear, so
we might get something on.
We might. Let's not promise anything yet, but it could get a little interesting out there, depending on how it goes. So we'll see. Should be fun.
Well, what else did you learn today?
Man, I tell you, all three of our contributors today
really lined up. It's pretty obvious.
Yep, find the feed, find the fish. You know, Captain Patric was talking about finding the shrimp schools and the birds and fishing around a lot of mullet and stuff like that, sounded like. And then
Captain Shane said the same thing. If you ain't dropping down on your daytime, if you're not dropping down in that big bait ball, it's not happening.
That's right.
And Bama Beach Bum said the same thing.
Yeah, Ultimate Beach Bum.
Ultimate Beach Bum.
Ultimate said the same thing about not seeing any feed. You're not finding any fish. So, and I think that's always typical this time of year. The days are starting to get a little shorter. I'm starting to notice in the mornings, I been leaving at 5:30 all summer, and now it's still dark at 5:30. I'm still leaving at 5:30 because it's so hot, but it's not getting light till about 6:15, 6:20-ish, somewhere right in there. And then it's getting darker a little earlier in the afternoons. And we've talked about that with Captain Patric in that in the past, where the fish start to feel that. They know fall's coming on. They know winter's coming. And it's just like gorge time. You know what I mean? The fish have the feed bag on right now, and they're gorging. Like what Patrick was saying about catching 13-inch trout that are as big around as they are long.
Yep.
And I've been
Suckers are feeding up.
Oh, yeah, and I've been seeing the same thing. I've been having to most of the time, when we're speckled trout fishing, man, I can just look at the fish. Say, oh yeah, that one's legal. That one's not legal. And I've been having to shake my head a little bit and look at the fish again because they're so round. Yeah, they've been feeding. I have to go bump them on the board. Be like, oh yeah, he's a little short. And I was thinking he was legal.
He's just a little thick. He's a little thick.
Oh yeah, I got that thick girl look right now. Right. But anywho, it's really interesting.
That's what I learned as well. It all lined up perfectly. I mean, really, it's pretty good. I like whenever it's easy like that. Sometimes we have to scrounge for what you learn to things to tie in together. I love whenever they tie in together. So I agree.
Oh yeah, just that one just kind of jumped off at the page at me, especially when Ultimate said that in his tip. I was like, oh, ding, 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 ding. Yep. I think we have a winner, Johnny. Yep. It was pretty obvious. So.
Well, man, I'm not sure what your book looks like, but if folks want to get with you and I don't want to say it too loud, but Ling's coming up here pretty soon. Yeah, want to get up with you and get a trip. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
on my website, coldbloodedfishing.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Hit me up on Messenger on either one of those sites, or a good old telephone. Shoot me a telephone call or a text message, 251-459-5077. That'll get her done.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you hosting with me today. Had a good time. I think it's going to be a good show, like we said.
Yep.
Lots of good info. Excited to have Shane on. Lots of good inshore, lots of good onshore. We appreciate it, man.
Talking about Shane, I look forward to listening to him again in the future, man.
Yeah, heck yeah.
He was great.
Me too. Look forward to seeing what knowledge he can produce for the show for us, for sure.
Sweet. Well, I'll see you dark and early, sir.
Yeah, see you bright and early, man. Let's hopefully get a swordfish. I got the GoPro charged up. We're all ready to go. So, like you said, may bring some recording equipment. We may or may not make a show. Who knows? We'll see what happens. That's going to wrap it up this week, folks. You guys please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, head over to greatdaysoutdoors.com/ASFR, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking, and we'll see you next week.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Daycool Heating and Air, your home performance specialist. Contact them at 251-260-3858 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com. License number AL07028.
Also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at ccaalabama.org.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Fishbites, scented baits without the sting. Check them out at fishbites.com.
And also brought to you by Test Calibration, your source for sales and service of diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at test-calibration.com.
Also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com.
This is Captain Richard Rutland, and this report is brought to you by Cold Blooded Fishing. You can find us at www.coldbloodedfishing.com.